Hello, everyone. Welcome to Teacher Development Webinars. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. My name is Zamanullah Sand. I facilitate virtual programs at Teacher Development Webinars. Teacher Development Webinars is a social action project to support teachers and educators around the world with professional development opportunities. I think I'm frozen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
I can't. All right. Sorry for these technical glitches. So
I think it's part of doing a webinar now, isn't it?
yep, it is. So let me introduce a speaker today. All right. Fiona Dunlop. Fiona Dunlop is a principal at Wimbledon School of English, London, one of the oldest independent language schools in the UK. She has over 30 years worldwide experience in the field of English language training, including such areas in teacher training, business, and soft skills. She currently provides training on many aspects of ELT management, such as internal customer care, managing CPD, well-being, effective project management, and motivating and developing well-established teacher trends. And she has written articles for ELT publications, delivered webinars for British Council, and contributed to the development of a British Council Continuing Professional Development Handbook for teachers and managers. Most recently, Fiona has consolidating her years of experience in the form of a language school management book published in June 2009. We are pleased to have you, Fiona, and in this webinar, we'll be looking at the various ways we can access professional development, how to select what is useful and relevant for us and our clients, and how to gather evidence through reflective practices to monitor and measure the impact of our clients. We'll also provide practical, easy to implement ideas and activities which can be integrated into the everyday working life of a busy English learner. And will give the audience opportunity to reflect and set professional SMART goals relevant to their environment and students. Thank you so very much for your time, Fiona. We are very happy to have you.
Thank you very much, Amanullah, and thank you for having me here as well. Now, shall I start to share my screen? Oh, there's a lovely page of people there. Thank you everyone for joining me today. I'm just going to share my screen now.
Sure.
There we are. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you to Amanullah for inviting me on today. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm delighted to see so many of you from all around the world as well. So thank you. I see that Lourdes, for example, has just messaged to say that it's 4 o'clock in the morning where she is. So thank you so much to everyone for giving up your time wherever you are. As Amanullah said, I'm the principal at Wimbledon School of English, which is an old independent school in London in the UK. And I've been there for 20 years. I'll just give you a little background about myself. I've been at Wimbledon School of English for 20 years. I love my school, and my passion within the school is professional development. So it's always a pleasure to be talking about this area. And I think very much in our profession, we're in a profession of learning and development. So it's important that we integrate that into our lives as well, and wherever we are in our career. And that's what I want to look at today. And just to give you a little background to me, I graduated, I have a master's in psychology. Before moving into teaching, that was my chosen career. But I then moved from London to Cairo in Egypt in the late 80s and trained to be a teacher and taught in Cairo for about 3 years. And from Cairo, I then moved to Brazil, where I lived and worked for another 4 years. And all the time, during that time, I was really sourcing my own professional development. I loved the profession and I wanted to keep learning and doing what was good to benefit my students and also to keep me interested. And so what I want to share with you today are some of the things that I do and I have done throughout my career to keep me fresh and motivated and enjoying my job. So today, really, the next 45, 50 minutes is really about you. I want this, you know, we're living in quite a terrible time at the moment. And I think what I want to do is to focus on the positive here and to really give you some tools that will hopefully help make your professional life more interesting, more fun, and also have a benefit to the students that you're working with. So in saying that, again, as Amanullah said, here are the things I hope to achieve by the end of the hour. So we're going to look at self-reflection in teaching and learning and the benefits of that. And we're going to look at one particular reflective tool, which I find very useful for professional development. We'll look at goal setting. We'll look at some accessible and cost-effective CPD opportunities. CPD is professional development, continuing professional development. And I'll look at some pointers in how you can implement this into your busy lives, because my goodness, I mean, as teachers, as educators, we are busy, aren't we? Now, anything at all, I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat as well, and I'm sure Amanullah is, so anything that you want to kind of say as well then, and I'll have a time for questions throughout and at the end. So, this is one of my favourite definitions here by a good friend of mine, Keith Harding, of what CPD is. And these slides will be available for everybody afterwards. Amanullah has them for you, which is why some of them are quite dense, because I wanted you to have this also as something to refer back to. So continuing professional development, of course, first of all, it's continuous. And that we should always be looking for ways to deal with new challenges and improve our performance. However, I think it's also important to recognise that we need to take breaks sometimes. We can't continually be moving out of our comfort zone and learning and learning and learning. We would burn out if we did that. But within that, continuous throughout our career. It's the responsibility of the individual teacher, I would say as well. We identify our own needs and how to meet these needs. And again, I think that's important because we're doing this for us as much as for anyone else. Evaluative, so time to actually set a goal, to reflect, to see if we're achieving those goals and to see the impact and the evidence that learning is taking place in the class. And for me, very importantly, professional development is an essential component of professional life. It's not just an extra. It's not something that you do afterwards. You can integrate it. And that's what I hope to pass as a message today, is that professional development can be happening throughout, and every little thing that we do, just setting ourselves these little goals, these tiny goals that move us forward, that keep us fresh, keep us interested and benefit our students. They don't need to be some huge project that we can never find the time to get round to. So I'm thinking about why is this important though? And here are my thoughts, and you may have others as well. I think certainly, again, in this time, it keeps you interested, it keeps us motivated, it keeps us positive as well. You know, we've got a pandemic going on all around us, and, you know, we're worried about our own self, we're worried about our security, we're worried about our families. So embracing something positive and interesting to keep us going throughout this time, I think is crucial. To stay current. Again, I'm sure where you are, certainly where I am in London, English language teaching is changing so rapidly. We've had to move everything online, and we've had to do lots of hybrid training. There are lots of new things that we've had to learn as teachers and educators. And then again, why? Makes us feel good. Doing the same thing again and again and again can get boring. We can get stuck in a rut. But setting ourselves little challenges, looking at how we're improving, how we're experimenting, what the benefits are, etc. This makes us feel good. And it also gives us a focus. And I strongly believe that we do owe this to our students and to ourselves. The students' experience and students are changing, their needs are changing, and it's important, I think, that we stay current and move with our students. Moving on, though, I think as well, professional development and being able to demonstrate your interest and your achievements in professional development can enhance your employment prospects. It looks good on our CVs, it looks good. And again, the world has become so much smaller with so much growth in online teaching. You can work for schools all over the world if you're getting experience in online teaching now. And so I think there are many more opportunities possibly for teaching. And with that could come, maybe I'm being over optimistic here, I don't know, but possible financial gain. Can we grow in our career? Can we get promotions? And with that financial gain as we become more experienced as teachers. And lastly, it enhances the reputation of our profession. So those are the whys, but it's not just me who believes this. British Council, they also say, let me just put this down, they say CPD enriches teachers' professional lives, which in turn contributes to student learning and overall improvement in the quality of school systems. And this can only be a good thing, surely. So what I would like to do now is to start to think about ourselves in this. And this is where hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun and time to kind of think about what we're good at. And I'm going to ask you all just to take a minute. I'm just going to sit here quietly. I want you to take a minute to think about these two areas. What have you achieved or learned in the last extraordinary 12 months? And then looking forward, what would you like to achieve in the coming year? As I said, I'm going to sit here quietly for a minute. I want you just to think, to reflect, to put this in the chat box, to write it down, but think about what you've achieved and what you would like to achieve. There, I've just started you off. I have to use Zoom now for a lot of my work, and a year ago I'd never heard of Zoom. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. This is something to ponder on, thinking about what you've learned, what you've achieved, and what you would like to achieve. But I think that's the starting point in focusing more on our professional development going forward. And what I would say here is being aware of our achievements allows us to structure our CPD pathway in a realistic and meaningful way. And I'm going to look at this in a little more detail, but I think only by looking back and reflecting on what we've managed to do so far and what we're good at and what we do well allows us then to structure where we want to go from there. It allows us to identify our areas of interest and our areas where we maybe want to develop more. And I'm going to outline for you now a little task. And this task is about achievements. And it might sound ridiculous at first, but stay with me with this. What I'm going to ask you to do is here, and you're not doing this now, don't worry at all. But over the next month, I would like you to think of 250 achievements that you have had in your life. And I know you're probably sitting thinking, oh my goodness, 250, that's impossible. I was given this task a few years ago, before I started my job at Wimbledon School of English. So 20 years ago, my goodness, time flies. And it's a way of really getting to know yourself. And you start off by, I wrote down, maybe 5 or 6 things that you think are achievements. I graduated from university, I worked abroad, I won a medal for judo, all of these things, these big things in your life, for example. And then you start to think of the little things that you achieve. And then you start to think about the things near to now, and you think about the things further back in your past. And I found that over a 4-week period, when I was doing this activity, I would wake up in the night and I would think, oh my goodness, I achieved this, and I would write it down. And it gives us such a sense of achievement, such an empowering feeling, such a sense of pride in what we have done in our lives. And what it also does is it makes you see that everything that we're doing is an achievement. Goodness, those of you who are joining us today, I can see, and those of you who are watching the recording as well, that's an achievement. Surely it would be much easier to switch on the television, to watch some soap operas, to go and have your breakfast, your dinner, to chat to your family, but you have achieved something for your own professional development in joining this today. So what it does is it also makes you recognize that every single day you're doing something. And that's the same in the classroom. Every single class that you deliver, no class is the same. Even if you walk in with an identical lesson plan, you know this, no class is the same, because it's about the students. And every little change that you make to meet the students' needs, that's an achievement, and that's something to reflect upon. So then what I would say is set yourself 20 more, these are now goals for the next month, 12 months, and share this with your colleagues. Let them know how it makes you feel. This is a great group activity to try to do, whether you do it online, whether you've got a friend, get your friends and family into this. This is not only an ELT tool, it's very simple, but very useful. And from there, once you've achieved, that allows you then to look at your goals. Because once you've actually got a sense of your achievements and what you're capable of, can you then start to set yourself future goals in your professional life? And that's now what I would like to look at. And I'm thinking about smarter goals. You may have heard of SMART goals. I'm looking at smarter goals. So just have a think. Do you know what a SMART goal is? Some of you may not. I'm just having a look there. So the S, specific. Your goal must be specific. And we're looking at smarter goals here just to go back a little, because it's easy to set a goal, but it's very difficult to achieve it sometimes, isn't it? And for example, a goal might be that I'm going to become a more experimental teacher, for example, but without tying it into some kind of definition and something specific, normally we don't get there. It's very typical, certainly in the UK. I'm not sure about where you are. A goal at the new year for everyone is I'm going to become fit. I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to lose weight. But without actually breaking that down and making it more specific, we rarely manage it. Make it measurable so that you can measure and you can evidence if you've achieved it and where you are in that achievement. Achievable, of course. It's very easy. I'm going to be famous. Well, how are you going to get there? Let's break it down. Make it achievable. Realistic as well. And time bound. If it's not time bound, then it will run away with you and you'll keep putting it off until tomorrow. Well, I do. I don't know about you. You might be much better at these things than me. But the E here, the next one I think is the most important. It must be enjoyable. It must suit you. That's how you are going to achieve your professional goals. And then reflected upon. Have a look back at it. Where are you? What were your stumbling points in achieving your goal? How can you move forward from that? And congratulate yourself. Well done that you've actually achieved the goal or even part of the goal so far. So smarter goals, I think, are crucial in our professional development. And a smarter goal can be big or small. Make it realistic and time-bound, but it can be big or small, so it can be integrated into our professional lives. And I have an example here for you. I'll let you just have a little read at that. So we can see it's specific, 5 to 10 interactive classroom activities. It's measurable, we can count that. It's achievable, why not? If we had something like 50 to 60 interactive in a week, I couldn't do that. It's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time bound in the next 2 months. It's enjoyable. Well, that's a personal thing, isn't it? When I was thinking about this, I thought that's an enjoyable task. And then it can be reflected upon, and reflected upon by sharing this goal with your colleagues, running a session, talking about it online, writing a blog, and would allow you to reflect upon it. So those are smarter goals. And like achievements, they can be big or small. So don't shy away from them. And I would also like to mention the importance of mini goals. It doesn't need to be a big goal. A mini goal, a couple of things each day. If you think about a lesson that you're going to deliver, a lesson that you're preparing, then what do you want to get out of that for yourself? What are your professional development goals within that lesson? A mini goal. Do you want to reflect on how you use your voice more? Do you want to look at how you encourage students to interact more, to communicate more? Think about your mini goals. It doesn't need to be a big goal, even like the one that I've just demonstrated. A mini goal might be something like you want to minimize your preparation time. You want to look, for example, tomorrow you've got 3 lessons. You want to spend 1.5 hours preparing, not your normal 3. I think sometimes we can spend a lot of time preparing for our lessons. So half an hour per lesson. Cut your time down, make it more specific. So setting yourself little goals as well. So within that, I'm going to ask you, and I can see we've got 20 people online at the moment, so thank you all. And I know that there will be other people watching on YouTube and watching the recording. I'm giving you a takeaway task here. I'm giving you some homework. Set yourself one smarter goal. Surely that's achievable. One goal that you would like to achieve by the end of June in your professional life. Or set yourself 3 mini goals that you could achieve by the end of this week. And a mini goal could be, you might have achieved one already. One of your mini goals might have been coming along to a CPD session. And what I'm inviting you to do is to email me with your goals. Share this with me. Start a conversation with me. I'm here. I'm sitting here in London. I'm in my house. I'm working from home today. I'm a real person. I'm not just at the end of the screen. Drop me an email. Start that communication with me. I think a goal shared is a goal better achieved, because once it's out there, there's more chance that we will see it through. So there's a challenge to you. Now, what I would like to do is to move on and go a little deeper into looking at ourselves. And I'm going to share with you a reflective tool that I have used at various times in my life. And this tool for me has been really powerful. And I've shared it with other people as well. And I've had that same feedback. It's very straightforward, it's very easy, and it gives you a holistic view of yourself. And at this time, at this very changing time, I think this is a good time to stop and look at who you are, where you are professionally, and where you want to go. And so I'm going to share this with you. We don't, because we're online at the moment and we're not being terribly interactive, normally I would ask you to actually start this with me. Unfortunately, we're not going to do that today. But please, I do ask you to just to listen, see if you've got any questions about this. Email me out with anything later. And if you don't do anything else after this session, then today, maybe start this. It takes 5 minutes to start it. So what you do is for me, I usually use a big piece of paper. So I have a big piece of paper and I put me in the middle. There I am. With there that photo with pre-COVID haircut. And then all around, I have identified 5 or 6 areas that are really prominent in my life, the things that define me. So for example, the blue things here I have are personal, because you can do a mix of personal and professional, or you can do just one or the other. So family and friends, of course, big part of my life. Health and fitness could be better at the moment, but health and fitness, also a big part of most of our lives. And then my long-term business projects as a principal, what things am I working on? They really define me and they take up quite a lot of my working life. My own professional development. And then not long ago, a couple of years ago, I started a new role within the school. So my new role and my new team that I manage. And then also the old team. The old teams, a couple of years ago, I was the academic director of the school. So my old team were the teachers. And now I'm a bit more removed from them in the school because I'm managing the other side of the school as well. So I had such a good relationship with the old team and with all of my teachers. So they're also quite prominent within my working life. So that's the easy part. Then what you do is you look at, for each component, what you give to it and what it gives to you. For example, so we can see here the arrow going from me to my new role. And I'm giving that lots of energy, lots of time, because even now, a couple of years on, I'm still learning. I was in the last role for 18 years. I'm giving guidance to the staff. I'm giving patience. I need to be patient with myself and to understand and to learn. I'm giving a lot of headspace. It's in my head and all the time. I'm thinking of my school, and then I give it more time. So that's the role that I have in the school at the moment. However, what does it give to me? Well, it's brought change. It's giving me a renewed energy, stimulation, pride in what I do. I'm so proud to work at my school. It gives me challenges to work towards. It makes me nervous. Am I doing the right thing? And it gives me job satisfaction. It keeps me dedicated to my school and to the students and the staff that I work with. So what you do with this then is you build up a picture. And I said to you, take 5 minutes to start this today. But the activity does take more than 5 minutes, and you need to keep it and revisit it over a few weeks, because you find, like the 250 achievements, you keep adding to this. So you might look at your family and friends. What do you give to your family and friends, and what do they give to you? And then you build up a whole picture. But the next part of the activity is the part that really gets you thinking, and it gives you a visual tool to start thinking about, as I said, your holistic life, what you do with your life and where you want it to go. Because once you've built up all of this, of what you give to each component and what it's giving to you, you then start to move those things around. And if you're working on the computer with this, then you can just pick up the words and move them over. So for example, I'm saying my new role, I give lots of time to that. So possibly in my family and friends, I don't have as much time for them because of the headspace and the time and the energy that's going into my role at work. What would happen? What would the implication be to my life if I took some of that time away from my role at work and put it into my family and friends? And this really gets you to focus. It really gets you thinking. So for example, my family and friends are possibly getting a little frustrated now that I'm always working. So let's move some time over there. That balances that part of my life. That maybe gives me a bit more positivity, and it maybe renews my energy now. It gives me something else to focus on. How does that impact on my team and my role at school? Well, I think now, managed well, I can start to do that. So I don't think there would be a big impact there. So that's just an example of how moving things around, what would it change in your life? And it's an easy tool to do. It's an easy tool to use. And you're probably all sitting there at home at the moment or in your schools thinking, oh yes, that sounds interesting. I might try that. Or maybe I think, nah. I ask you, I implore you, please today, start this. If you start it, 5 minutes to start it, it really gets you thinking. And once it's started, you can start to dip into it over the next few days and weeks. So I'm saying it's a must-do task. And the instructions here are work alone. Don't tell other people at the moment that you're doing it. You don't need to share it with anyone. This is private. This is about you. If you feel afterwards that you want to share it with people, then fine. But it's really a time for you to indulge in yourself. And because you're actually writing it down on paper or doing it on the computer, you must focus. And I don't know about you, but I think a lot of the time, teachers in the teaching profession, we don't take enough time for ourselves. We're giving the time to our managers, to our schools, to our students. Stop and take this time. Work without interruption. Be honest. And then your instructions here is put yourself in the middle, add the main areas, consider what you give to each, consider the impact of moving them, and revisit it regularly. So I'm putting that to you. There's my challenge to you. 21 new friends online and anyone else who watches later. Do this. Let me know how you get on, what it achieves. So I think this allows time to reflect and reassess. And goodness, if there isn't a time, this is when we need this the most, surely. I'm not sure about you, but I know that a lot of my colleagues and myself in the teaching profession, there's uncertainty, there's change, students are changing, so we're thinking about students' welfare, we're thinking about our own welfare through a pandemic. This is a time to reflect and reassess. It allows you to focus, it allows you to stop and look at your life and your professional path. It allows you to consider when to say yes to things. Are you doing too much? Are you giving too much? Or is there space to take on a few more challenges, to develop a little more in a certain area? It also allows you to consider when to say no. Very important as well. So we've reflected, just to summarise so far where we are, we've reflected, we've thought of our own goals, our achievements. I've given you a holistic tool to look at yourself. Use that to help you to decide where you can integrate more professional development, set more goals for yourself, and where you need to be kind and step back and give yourself a little more time to just relax, possibly. Professional development, though, when we think about professional development, we often think, oh, it's a conference, it's a course. It can be small. The key is to integrate it into your day-to-day, not to make it some big add-on. So I'm now going to give you some pointers as to what might be available. I'll just give you a moment to have a look at that. I'm just going to have a little look and see if we have any questions. There we go. Okay. So this is available to all of us. These things. I would take the time now to say there are a lot of different things here that I'm going to suggest in terms of accessing CPD, professional development. Don't do them all. Don't make it a goal to try and do them all. Less is more. Choose a couple of things that you think fit with you, your interests, and your busy life. So, of course, local professional development groups, and participate in them, ideas sharing. If there isn't one, start one. Talk to Amanula. We've got teacher development webinars, get a little group going, a discussion group, do some research, read articles, come together and discuss them. So if there isn't a CPD group, and I'm saying local, local to you with teachers in your area, it can also be online, of course. If you work in a school, attend, run CPD sessions. Keep them short and sweet. For example, I'm a big fan of 15 minutes. A 15-minute CPD session, if you're working in school, we often don't have time for an hour, a 2-hour session, do we? But a little 15-minute lesson sharing, ideas sharing session once a week, once a fortnight in your school. Peer observation. You may have a system if you are working in a school where you can observe a peer. If not, request it. It can be with a friend, a colleague. Can you go into their class and observe? And the aim here of peer observation is a mutual learning, a mutual understanding, and a mutual appreciation of what we do. It's not a place to go into a class and to write a report on a colleague, I would say. It's something to enjoy. I think, as I was a director of studies for many years, I never tired of the privilege of being able to observe teachers. And you don't stop learning. As a director of studies, you learn so much about teaching and learning by having that privilege of being able to observe. And I think that teachers should also have access to that. And also pop-in observations to see a variety of types of lesson. Something that I quite like to do, and something that we try and do in our school, is to arrange 10-minute observations. Pop into a class for 10 minutes. Pop into 3 or 4 classes in succession, some of your peers, some of your colleagues, and see different styles. And just get a feel for a lesson, and a feel for, we can look at the students. How do the students react to our colleagues as well? You can focus this, a peer observation or a pop-in observation. Ask a colleague, can I just come in to see how you present language analysis, how you give instructions, how you deal with pronunciation, for example. And again, now that we're online a lot, observations can be even easier to set up. Can you just pop into an observation for 10 minutes to see how they're doing something? Reflection, a big fan. A lesson journal. Some of us may keep lesson journals, but something that I really like is small time reflection. I like mini goals. I like small pop-in observations. Lesson post-its. I love post-its. I've got some post-its here. Oh, I've put them over there. In your lesson plan, when you're going into a lesson, take some post-its with you, or just have your lesson plan on a piece of paper or on your iPad, your device. For each stage of your lesson, write down how that stage is going, how that stage went. Write down some questions, things you want to revisit. So we can keep a lesson journal to reflect in a bigger way, but writing down in little lesson post-its or on your lesson plan to reflect. And when the students leave the class that day, wait behind, you may do this already, wait behind for 5 minutes and look at your lesson plan again. What notes did you make? What do you want to change? What could you do better? What went well? Take that time to reflect. Simple. This is about integrating professional development into your daily life. It's not taking any more time. It's not some big task that it seems onerous to do. There's lots of online support out there. There are blogs, there are portals, there are online conferences, there are publisher sites, there are exam sites. Sometimes actually this can become quite overwhelming, which is why I say less is more. Find a site that you like, or find a site or find an area of interest and stick to that and share it with your discussion group, share it with your peer partner, for example, reflect upon it. If we decide that we're going to go to everything, we will go to nothing. Experimental day once a week. Again, this can be really nice. You just choose, you know, as I said at the beginning, we don't have the headspace to continuously develop every minute of the day. Choose one day a week or choose one day a fortnight. A Wednesday, why not? Middle of the day. Wednesday is the day that I'm going to try something new. And try something new could be about something you've read, something that you've seen online, something that you've heard your colleagues and peers talk about. Try it. This is where sometimes planning a lesson together can be quite nice, and trying each other's style a little, trying to move out of your comfort zone, but just once a week. Ask your students for feedback. How do they feel? What did they think? I mean, the example that comes to my mind is role play. I don't know about you, but I'm never very comfortable doing role play in the class. But then once I do it and experiment with it, I really feel, wow, that was good. I've done something that I'm not comfortable with. It went well. I asked the students, they seem to enjoy it. So trying something new. Having a mentor or a buddy system. And again, this can be very simple, very informal, to have a colleague, a friend that you want to buddy with, to share ideas, to run things by, and to look at your lesson planning together, and to talk about your common areas of professional interest. Take on a project. And a project could be action research. And I have a slide at the end of this that I don't have time to talk about, but it outlines an action research procedure for you to follow if you are interested in action research. But a project could be something as simple as looking at ongoing assessment within your class, or trying out something new on a longer scale. And this is where it's good to have a mentor or a buddy, a friend, a line manager that you can talk to and ask them to set your mini goals within your project. Volunteer to move out of your comfort zone. Again, if you work in a school or if you work in a company, say yes to something that you wouldn't normally. Put yourself forward. Say that you would like to teach that level that you don't normally feel comfortable to. Say yes, and then you find out how to do it. You know, we're intelligent people, we're hardworking people. Throw ourselves in, be confident, don't shy away from moving out of your comfort zone. Not all the time, of course, but put yourself into somewhere that will force developmental opportunities. Something nice, reading, listening to podcasts, something nice, but we often don't find time. Dedicate just half an hour a week to reading for professional pleasure. Writing articles. And very often colleagues that I've worked with, they say, oh, no, people aren't going to be interested in what I've got to say. That is not true. I think teachers love sharing experiences. I love hearing about teacher experiences. I love understanding that we're all going through similar things. I'm talking to you you're all over the world, and we have a lot of similarities in our day-to-day job, and also differences. And reading something like that, I find so fascinating. So I'm inviting you now, write about it. I'm sure there are local publications, there are also international publications and publications online. IATEFL, for example, the IATEFL, the International Association of Teachers of English, they are always looking for people to deliver webinars, to write articles, to participate. And that leads me into present at conferences. Say yes. What do you have to lose? I'm sure Amanula's here today, and he's organised this for me, and it's been lovely. This has opened up a new network for me. I said yes, and I'm sure he would also love to hear from you. Say yes to these things, presenting, running webinars. So there's a lot there, and I'm saying choose one or two and break them down into manageable chunks. Don't try to do too much. But again, I would say after this, take 5 minutes. Once I finish speaking, take 5 minutes once you've switched off your computer to start to think, okay, let's reflect on what I've talked about. What did you like? What would work for you? Make some notes and set yourself some mini goals. And so that's what I'm asking you to do, is to reflect and think which of these appeal to you. How might you approach them? Adapt them. They don't work for everyone the same as I would do them. How would they work in your situation? And how could you implement them and break them down into mini goals to fit into your busy life? And I stress, once we finish on this webinar today, take 5 minutes before you leave the room, before you go to make a cup of coffee, to reflect on this and think, what can you do? And remember, at the start I said, this is about you. Why are we doing these things? Not only for our students' benefit, but to keep us motivated, interested, focused, something positive. This is about you at the moment. This is a difficult time for everyone in their lives. So make this about you, make it positive and make it fun. So what have we done so far? I'm conscious of time. We've looked at what CPD is, why develop, start with how much you've achieved. We've looked at the importance of reflection. We've looked at setting goals, smarter goals and mini goals, and then considered what's available and accessible to us. To move on though, I think we need some structure. Again, it's kind of tied into the smarter goals and the idea of not having a SMART goal and just saying, I'm going to develop as a teacher this year. That's a vague goal. That's an unsmart goal. We need to give our development structure. And so that's what I want to look at now, because for this to work, we have all good intentions and then our busy life kicks in and we don't do it. And I think some structure can be as simple as talking to a friend, talking to a line manager, talking to a colleague, and in a professional capacity. And giving yourself some structure to this, setting your goals, setting your time limits, being kind to yourself so that you're not over pushing yourself. I'm going to introduce you to one way to structure, and that's through British Council. British Council has a CPD framework, and you can Google this, and it breaks down for you and really has that idea of less is more. It gives you focus, it gives you structure to look at what is available for professional development and maybe what to do at different stages in your teaching career so that you're not taking on too much. Because I think the other thing about professional development, it must be interesting to you and it must be pitched at the correct level for you. We're like students, aren't we? When we're talking about professional development. Now, if something's too boring, if it's not your level, then you're not going to stick at it. British Council framework really helps you to identify where you are in your teaching career and what you can do to continue to develop and therefore possibly open doors for future careers. I know there are other frameworks out there. This is the one that I use, and this is the one that I've been involved in when it first started. But I know that there are other frameworks out there. I know there's an equals framework as well. I believe there's a Trinity framework. Something like this can really structure, and it's objective as well. If you are starting to look for different work opportunities, if you're looking to move job, if you're going for interviews, something like this on your CV and talking about it at interviews is also very attractive to an employer, I believe. So it's guidance for teachers, guidance for managers, if you're there and you're a manager in the audience. It gives you a framework to work to. It's also a portal with advice, suggestions, video clips. There are also courses on there. I saw a couple of weeks ago, British Council were advertising a free course on gender within the classroom. And if you go into British Council English agenda, if you're enjoying what I'm saying, I don't know if you are or not because I can't see you, you're not near to me, then Google, put in my name, Fiona Dunlop, into the British Council English agenda and you'll find a couple more webinars there. And that's what it looks like. So I'm kind of coming to the end now, and I'm just going to sum up. And this is a very dense slide, but I think it's a good written record of suggestions and hints on how to access and implement CPD into our working lives. So build an online network. And I'm putting here the IATEFL special interest groups are great. If you're not familiar with IATEFL, again, put it into Google. It's a fabulous organisation worldwide with lots going on online, lots going on face-to-face, locally and internationally. And they also have different special interest groups that are very active. There's a great one on young learners. There's a good business one. Have a look at this. So IATEFL. A lot of variety and things available, but be selective. What are you interested in? And what will be useful for your students? What will move you forward? So knowing what suits you. And build it into what you already do. Give it a structure. Don't see it as a separate thing. Integrate it and enjoy it. Set yourself a goal or a few mini goals, a smarter goal, and tell people. This personally is me. I mean, you may not agree with this, but I think if it's for my style, if I tell somebody that I'm going to do something, then there's more chance that I will actually do it. So that's why I have tell people written down there. It may suit you, it may not. Less is more. Be realistic, but don't sit still. I don't know about you, but when I go along to training, when I go along to conferences, I come out and I'm buzzing and I think, yes, I'm going to do all of this and all of this. Stop, reflect, and choose 2 or 3 areas that you want to focus on and structure it, break it into goals to work towards. Provide time for reflection, recognize your achievements and praise yourself. Very important. Again, as teachers, as academic managers, as school principals, we're working for other people all the time and we're very concerned about the needs of other people. Look at our own needs, look at our own achievements and congratulate ourselves. I think it's sometimes time to find time in the day to stop and say, well done, I've done well today. Look at the lessons that you've done. Go to bed at night reflecting on what you've done and what you're happy with. It's very easy to be so self-critical, but look at the good that you're happy with in your professional day. Work with someone, always nice to have a friend, to have a buddy, makes it social, ties you in a little more. And lead by example. If you're a manager, if you're a teacher, also lead by your own example, because we don't always have teams with us. So lead by your own example. Self-motivate, reflecting on what you've achieved allows you to lead by your own example. Again, I come back to choose things that are interesting for you. Enroll in a short online course, become a student, see what it's like to be in the other end. And you may already be doing this, and well done. You may be studying online, you might be doing MAs, etc. But there are lots of short online courses at the moment. And I have a slide coming up that will share with you what we do at Wimbledon School of English for that. And practice self-promoting, be aware of your achievements. Well, again, I said at the beginning, why do we do this? And it could open doors for us, what we achieve in CPD. And it's also about professionalizing and people, the outside world, recognizing the professionalism within our industry. Self-promoting doesn't come comfortably for many of us. But why not? Don't hold back. You know, praise yourself and share with others your good news stories, your achievements, and also the goals that have come out of that. So those are some of the hints that I have. I hope there's enough there to give you something to work on. Here in this slide, this is a link to a blog that we have in our website at my school in Wimbledon. And this is, if you are interested in doing a short online or face-to-face teacher training course, then this outlines some teacher training courses that are available, and for us, quite reasonably priced if you're interested. If you are interested in doing a 1 week or a 1 day, we have 1 day sessions, then get in touch with me. And my professional happy place, I thought you might like to see where I'm speaking from. This is what my school looks like. And I think, you know, this to me is a nest of professional development. We're a learning organisation. Everyone within our school has goals. We are recognising our achievements, and we're working towards our own self-improvement and self-development for the good of ourselves, the good of our students, and the good of our school. And I think, what more could we want? We're not, as teachers, going to become rich. We're not going to become famous. So why not get some self-satisfaction and in helping our students and helping ourselves? And what's the alternative? What's the consequences? Here I am, the conditions of a terrible school with no CPD, a teacher with no interest in CPD. We get trapped. And it's easy for any of us to get trapped. So that's where I'm saying, go back to this being about yourself, as well as your students, as well as the organisations you work for. It's about yourself and not being trapped in a rut. And finally, everything that I've said today, I do believe you can transfer it to the classroom in a practical way. And we do that already. Classroom activities, things that we do and things that we can transfer into the classroom. Setting goals with students, setting smarter goals, introduce that idea to your students. Individual learning outcomes, make them time-bound, make them realistic, etc. And also reflection, giving students tutorial tasks to prepare. If you do one-to-one tutorials with your students, give them something to work on, to reflect on their learning. What have they learned? What have they achieved this week? What are they bringing? Where do they want to go? How do they want to go forward? Introduce review slots and reflection and autonomy sessions with your students. Introduce reflecting learning journals that can be just for them, or it could be as a project, as an activity. So reflection and goal setting, bring this into your classroom as well, and making it a rounded experience. And as I come to the end, I can only say thank you. That's me. I'm Fiona, Wimbledon School of English. That's my address. So if you do have anything else that you want to share with me, I would be delighted to have a conversation if there's anything that you want to elaborate on. I think we maybe have time for questions now. If there's anything that anyone wants to, let me see. Any tips to develop? I'm just having a little look at the chat room now. Let me just stop sharing my screen. I'll just check if you've all got that address if you need me. And let me stop sharing. I'm just going to come down to the chat room. Any tips to develop learning interest in learners other than activities, but something that inspires their instincts? What a good question. As I started to talk, that's a very good question. I'll just read that again. Any tips to develop learning interest in learners other than activities, but something that inspires their instincts? As I said with ourselves in my session, it's about getting to know ourselves and recognizing our own achievements. I think that's the same for our learners. Really tapping into what makes them tick. Having one-to-ones with them, asking the right questions, asking open-ended questions. What do they want? Asking them to reflect and get them to write it down, and use that information to really tailor what we do with our students, I think will raise interest levels.
Thank you so very much, Fiona, for these great ideas, and I'm seeing a lot of appreciation for your session. So there was a question, and Indra asked that CPD is a group effort. What do you think?
Oh, completely. Yes. I mean, a group effort, and it also makes it so social and so much fun. But we don't. I completely agree, because if we just do something in isolation too much, then we're reinventing the wheel. When also our peer may be doing the same thing. So make it a group activity. And also, again, we're very much working for the good of our students and our schools if we work in schools. So I think small working groups, small groups that have areas of interest, presenting to each other. Very often, my experience of working overseas in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't so much structure in a school for professional development. So we can create it as teachers. It can come from us upwards to the higher levels of management, and we can do that as groups. So we don't need to wait for someone else to lead us to professional development. We can do this for ourselves and with our friends and with our colleagues.
And the other question was, who do you think CPD is for? Senior teachers and new teachers, pre-service teachers. So what is the target audience?
Oh, it's a very interesting question. I do believe in lifelong learning. And so I think professional development is something that is useful for everybody, but we need to know what is accessible at our level in our career. So, for example, I mentioned action research, doing a project, getting involved in course design. That's not suitable necessarily for a new and inexperienced teacher. So you need to know your areas of interest and know the level that you're at. That's where that British Council framework can really help you. It helps you to identify where you are in your teaching career and what is available to you and how you achieve it in professional development.
Great. And oftentimes teachers are motivated to get these certificates of professional development, rather than getting knowledge and expertise. So any tips and ideas, and how do you motivate them to go for CPD?
That's a big question, actually. I mean, again, it comes back to it's got to be about yourself. I think, why are we doing this? Yes, of course, it's good to have a certificate, to have a qualification that helps you with your career, it helps you with your job. But we're doing it for our own interest and job satisfaction as much as anything else here. And we don't want to be bored in our lives. We're going to spend the majority of our lives working. So do any professional development for yourself first and foremost. A certificate, a qualification at the end is great. The certificate and the qualification will be useful when you're looking for jobs, when you're looking to move organisation, but also we can lead this. If you go for interviews and they only want qualifications, you can talk about the interview. If you go for an interview as a teacher, it's a two-way relationship. You can also bring in what you've done in professional development that has not been reflected in a qualification. So you can start that dialogue if you're going for a job and if you're trying to enhance your career. I'm not sure if that answers your question, Amanola. Does that?
It certainly does. I completely agree with you, what you said. So we'll end with Dr. Hazel's comments. He says, informative, interesting, stimulating, and thought-provoking. Thanks for the opportunity to join this session. We really appreciate your appreciation, and thanks very much, Fiona. And it was a lot to learn for, personally me. And yeah, so we were delighted to have you here today. So let me tell you, this recording will be available on Teacher Development Webinars YouTube channel. And on this point, let me remind you that we are experiencing this third wave of COVID-19. So please be careful about your life, your loved one's life. Keep wearing masks and following all the standard protocols. We'll see you in our next webinar. Thanks very much. Be safe, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Take care. Stay safe.